Hi y'all, bonjour, hola, my name is Trish. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to create a CD cover. Yeah, I know it's a little bit different from what I've always done, but you know there is always something new that you've learned from my tutorials. So don't rule this out. Take some time to watch and learn. So without further ado, let's jump right into this tutorial. If you're new on this channel, welcome. We are so excited to have you join the community of learners. It's Thursday, y'all. I'm excited and I know you are too. Yeah, I can see you smiling behind the screen. Yes, I can see you. So today I want to reveal the design I got for the graduation invitation card. So you know the one that I did last week. So this is what I did, and this is what I got from Jack on Facebook. It's so nice and well done. Bravo to you, Jack. You did a fantastic job. Thank you for sending in your design. Without further ado, let's jump right into this tutorial. So for this canvas design, I'm going to start from scratch so you know even the CD size, and all the dimensions that goes with this. So the first thing that we're going to do is to create a new canvas. So we go to File, and then you want to click on New. You want to make sure that your width is 1600, your height is at 1600, and we are using pixels for our measurement. And then for resolution, we want to keep it at 300. You always want the highest resolution. It's easier to decrease rather than having a lower resolution file that you need to enlarge. So always keep that in mind. And we're going to leave the rest of the settings the same. We're going to click on Create. So now that we have our canvas open, the first thing you want to do is to bring in the background image or your background design. So I want to keep this tutorial very simple so that you get the concept, and then you can add whatever design that you choose to as you progress. So we are going to bring in the working file, and as always, I will have a link to that in the description below. You can download and follow along. So I'm going to go to my working file, and I'm going to just drag this, and I'm just going to release it. I'm going to double click to deselect. I'm going to click on my move tool, and notice that my transform has been activated because I have show transform control and I have auto select. So if you don't have that, if you have an older version, all you need to do is go to edit and then click on transform, and then you can click on scale. So we are going to hold one end and we're going to scale it this way and the other end and scale it that way. I like the way it looks. I'm just going to reposition it that way, and it's centered. I'm going to double click to deselect. So now that we have our background set, I'm going to rename this. And what I always like to do is to make a duplicate of my original image in case I want to reuse it. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to go ahead to make this background image black and white. So to do that, you go to Image, Adjustment, and then you go down to black and white. And I'm going to leave all the default settings, and I'm going to click OK. So now that we have a background image, the other thing that you need to do is to make sure that you have your ruler and your snap on. You also want to make sure that you bring in your guide. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop in a guide, and I'm just eyeballing this. So I have my guide dimension at 40 pixels from the edge of my canvas. So now that I have my guide all set up, I want to go ahead and bring in my title of the CD. So I'm going to click on my text tool, and with my foreground and background color as white and red, I'm going to click inside my canvas and I'm going to type in the word love. With my move tool, I'm going to rescale it. And then I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to move it out just a little bit more like that. And as you can see, I have my snaps on. So when I move my text and I want to center it, you see that it just does it for me. If you also want to do it the other way, you want to go to the three dots up and then you want to click on canvas. And now this activates your alignment tool. So if I had my text here and I want to align, all I need to do with my text activated, I click on the middle icon, which aligns horizontal center and horizontal vertical, and is centered. But I want to bring it down just a little bit more. So I have the vertical centered, but the horizontal, I moved it down just so I get it in the position that I want. So I want to make my title a little bit more playful. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to highlight and then change some of it to white. I'm going to keep the O as red. And then what I want to do is that I want to right click, go to blending options, and I want to add a stroke effect. So the stroke effect have been applied to all the text, but if you don't want it to be applied to all the text, then basically you have to create these texts individually. But I just like the way it looks. So I'm just going to collapse it. But before I do that, you see that my size for my stroke is 3 pixels. I just wanted something very thin. So I'm going to click OK. And then the next thing we want to do is now add the name of the artist. So I'm going to click on my text tool, and then I'm going to choose Arial. I'm going to click within my canvas, and I'm going to type the artist name. And I'm going to click with in between the first and last name, and with my space bar, I want to space it out just a little. Now I'm going to highlight and change that to red. And I'm going to click on my move tool, go to properties, and then we want to increase the spacing on this. And I'm going to move that right there. And I'm going to increase the dimension. And we're going to space it out just a little bit more like that. I'm going to collapse my property and I'm going to recenter this. So the last thing that we want to do is to add a very thin border around our cover. So to do that, you basically want to click on your image layer, and we are going to add a new layer. So what we want to do is to rename this, and we're going to say border. And then we want to select everything on that border layer. So you want to press Control A, and you want to make sure that you are on the Move tool. With our background selected, you want to go to Edit, and then we're going to click on Stroke. And then you want to change the background, the color to white. And we are going to keep our pixels at 10. I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to press Control D. I'm going to deselect. So there you see that I have a very thin border around my cover. And it's a very simple gesture, but it makes a big of a difference. So this is it for the cover. As I said, we're keeping it very simple. So we want to move on to the back cover. So to do that, what I'm going to do is that you want to select everything for the cover. I'm going to hold down my shift. I'm going to select everything. I'm going to create a group and I'm going to name this CD. So now that we have our CD cover, we want to create the back cover. So I'm going to click on the group icon and we are going to make a duplicate. Now the duplicate includes everything that we started with. And I'm going to turn off the CD cover and I'm going to rename this and I will say back. I'm going to collapse this so we can see everything we have inside. So what I'm going to do for this one, we are going to turn off the name and also the border. We want to turn that off. We want to add a red background to this. So I'm going to click on my image, create a new layer, and then I'm going to make sure my foreground is red. So I'm going to click to select the red color. With my paint bucket, I'm going to fill that in. But we want to take down the opacity so we can still see our subject. And I'm going to now select my text and I'm going to rescale it, make it very small. And I'm going to set it right there. Now you can see that the stroke effect makes our text not look that good. So we're going to click on our text tool, right click, go to the blending options. And this time we want to take off the blending options. I'm going to click OK. So we have this simple effect, just a little bit of a reminder of what the name of the cover is. And now we want to add the list of songs in the album. So I'm going to keep it to 3 basic titles. So I'm going to click on my text tool and we are going to begin to type. So now that we have all 3, I'm going to select everything and we want to align it at left aligned text. And now I want to change my font style to something different. So I'm going to choose Talita Free. So as you can see, it gives me a very different font style. I'm going to reduce the spacing in between. So I have something like this. And this is all preference. So if you want a different font, you can go ahead and do that. But I wanted to keep it very playful and fun since this album is about love. We need a little bit more interest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do just a little border, just like we did for the cover, but this time it's not going to be at the very end of our border. We're going to keep our new border where we have our guide. So I'm going to select my shapes and we are going to create a new layer and I'm going to click at the midpoint where I have my guide. I'm going to select that and then I am going to make sure that my pixel size, I'll keep it at 3. I want to make it very small. So now that I'm satisfied with this, I'm going to press Ctrl D to deselect my selection. And if I want to see it better, all I need to do is go to View, and then you want to make sure that you clear your guide. So once you clear your guide, you see your border. So we have 2 things now. So what I want to do, I'm going to collapse it so you can see. So we started with nothing. So this is our CD cover, and this is the back of our CD. We are almost done. It is that simple. So the hardest part is doing the CD design itself. So moving along, we are going to go ahead to create that. So I'm going to make a duplicate of my CD cover so we can use that to create our CD design. So I'm going to select my group layer and I'm going to make a duplicate. I'm going to move that up and then I want to turn off all the other ones. I'm going to rename the CD and I'm going to name it design. You always want to name your stuff so that you know it helps you to be well organized. And I know that sometimes in my other tutorials, I don't name things, but if you want things to flow a certain way, you always want to name things. And on that note, you also want to always save your file. So to save, you go to File, Save As, and you go to Save on your computer. And we want to name the CD and I'm going to just click OK and click OK. You always want to be in the habit of saving your files in case your computer crashes. You don't want to lose everything. So moving along, we want to do the CD design now. So for the CD itself, we are going to basically use almost all the elements that we used for our cover, except for the background image and the border. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to collapse that. I'm going to open that up and I'm going to turn off the background. And also I want to turn off the border. So the first thing that we want to do is to bring in our background. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first of all go ahead and turn off our text so we can work with a blank canvas. And I'm going to click on new. We're going to add a new layer. But before I do that, I need that particular red. So I'm going to click on my foreground and make sure I have this color selected. So we have the red. And now I'm going to turn off my text tool, my text. And with my background selected, I'm going to rename this. And then I'm going to fill this in with a red. So I just picked up my paint bucket and then I just filled that in. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a new layer and then we are going to this time select our ellipse tool instead of the rectangle. And then you want to hold down your shift. We want to draw a circle. We want it to be even. So we hold down our shift so we can get an even circle. So I'm going to release. And now that I have this, at the very top, I want to make sure that I have the right dimension. So I'm going to click on my link size, link shape, width, and height so that if I change one, it will change the other one. So I'm going to click, we want to change the dimension to inches, and I want to change the size to 4.7. I'm going to hit enter. And once you hit enter, you want to do the same thing for this side, right click, inches, and you see that once I change the measurement, it defaults to the other size, other dimension that I already put in. So now we want to center our circle. So to do that, you want to click on the alignment icon right at the top, and you want to click on horizontal alignment and the vertical center alignment. So now our CD is centered within our canvas. Oh, and then the other thing we want to do is that we want to make sure that our stroke is a 3, very thin. We don't want it to be so visible. So we keep it at 1 pixel. So this is the size of our CD. And as you know, when the CD is printed, there is this little plastic frame around it. So we know that our design will not be printed on the entire CD. So we want to make sure that we have that offset. To create that offset, I'm just going to make a duplicate. So I'm going to name this. And what I'm going to do, we want to offset this. So I'm going to click on that, click on the shape. So to change the width, we are going to just go up and change the size, hit enter. And as you can see, whatever change I made has been applied to both. Now we want to center it. So we go back to our alignment tool and then we just center this. So I'm going to actually make this 5. And I'm going to recenter this again. So we have that 4.5 is the only place that will be printable. So anything beyond the 4.5 will be cut off. So just have that in mind. Now, you know that with every CD, there's a hole in the middle. So to create that, we don't need to recreate the Eclipse from scratch. We are going to do the same thing. We're going to make a copy of our CD layer, and we are going to rename this, and we're going to say CD hole, enter, and we want to change the size, so we're going to click on our shape, and then we are going to change this dimension, and we want to keep the dimension at 0.53, enter. Now we are going to pick on our align tool, but notice that when we pick the align tool, the center horizontal, align horizontal center is not activated. So to activate that, you want to go to align tool and you want to change it from canvas to selection. And then once we come out of that and you click back on your shapes, we'll now be able to center that. So now that we have our CD hole, the last thing that we want to also add is the little trim around the CD hole, which is the plastic area, which is not printed. So we are going to make a duplicate of this as well. And we are going to name this. So now that we have this, we want to change the size of this as well. So we're going to click on our shape to activate so we can change it. And I'm going to make this 0.9. Now that we have this, we want to center it. So I'm going to click on my center tool, make sure my move is selected, and we are just going to center this. So we do have this set for us. I want to create a little bit of an illusion of where the plastic area of the CD is so that we know that this area will not be printed and the other area will be. So we're going to click on our Eclipse and I'm going to make this 10. I'm going to click OK and I'm actually going to make it 30 so that it fills in so we can visually see that this area will not be printed. The other thing you can do to make it even more nicer is to take down the opacity so we get almost like this plastic look effect. We're going to do the same thing for the whole area. So I'm going to click on the CD whole plastic area and we are going to click on our Eclipse to activate our selection. We are going to change the stroke effect to 60 pixels, and then we're going to take down the opacity as well. So we have this cool effect happening. So now you can really see our CD and where it will be printed and the area that will not be printed. We want to add our title. So we're going to go down and turn on the title, and I'm going to use my move tool. We're going to set it right in the middle. I'm going to scale it down just a little, just like that. So what we want to do now is to make sure that we cut out the area that will not be printed. So to do that, you want to right click and then you want to convert your text to smart object. So now that we have it as a smart object, we want to go to our CD whole layer, and we want to make sure that we make a selection of that. So I'm going to hold down my control and I'm going to make a selection of that. I'm going to go back to my text, my title text layer, and with my eraser tool, I'm going to, you want to click OK, and then you want to erase this area. We are going to press Ctrl D to deselect. So now that portion of our text has been cut out for us. So basically that area will not be printed. I love this. So the next thing we want to do is to show the artist name, but the artist name is in red so we can't see it. So I'm going to turn off the background layer. so we can see it. And then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make it black. And then we want to turn back on our background. So now that we can see it, we want to move it up. And I'm going to rescale it just so. So what I want to do, I'm going to rescale this just a little bit more. And I'm going to set it right there. And then with my text tool activated, I'm going to click on my space bar to space it up. And we are going to set it right there. With my space bar, I'm going to increase my spacing a little bit more. And I'm going to set this up just like that. And we are all set. So the last thing that you can do to even make this more realistic is that we want to cut out the background area that we don't need. So to do that, all you want to do is to make sure that you click on your CD. You want to scroll down to your background, and we want to make sure we have our marquee 2 selected, and we are going to right click, make a copy. And we want to turn off the background image, and we want to turn off this background. So now you can see that we only have our printable area showing. So the other thing we can do is that you want to change your CD background color. We want to make it a little bit almost like grayish, and we are going to paint that back in so we can see it. So it's more visible that way. And we are going to do the same thing for our CD hole plastic area. And we are going to paint that in so it's more visible this way. And now we want to also cut out the whole area in the middle that we don't need. So we want to click on our CD hole plastic area, holding down Control. We want to select that area. And what we want to do now is that we want to go to our background CD area, and we want to pick our eraser tool, and we're going to erase this area. So we're going to press Control D. Now we want to also get rid of the middle portion. So we want to click on the whole area, hold down Control, make a selection of that area, and then you want to make sure you are on your CD printable area. With your eraser selected, you want to also erase that area. Control D to deselect. So now if you step back, you can see that this is your CD cover, and this is how it's going to print. So we are going to group this layer. We're going to collapse that. So now we have our CD design. If I turn that off and I turn back the CD cover, this is what we have. And if I turn that off and I turn on the cover, this is what we have too. So what I want to show you is how you can show this to a client. Basically, you want to show them almost like a CD markup. So to do that, we need to save all our different designs so we can put them together as one image to send to the client. I'm going to go to Save As, and we want to first of all save the cover. So I'm going to change my file type to JPEG, and I just want to keep it at CD cover. That is for the first one. And you want your quality to be at 12. And now I'm going to turn off that layer, turn on the back cover, and then we're going to repeat the same thing. We're going to go to Save As, and we want to say CD cover back. We want to make sure the file type is JPEG. Click OK, and we're going to click OK. We are going to do the same thing for the actual CD, but this time we don't want the background showing, so we will save it as a PNG. So you want to go to File, Save As. You want to click on Save. And then we want to change it to PNG. Then you want to name the CD design. We're going to click Save and Save. So now we have 3 different designs under our belt. So if I go to my folder, you can see that we have our original image, we have our CD design, we do have our cover, we obviously have our Photoshop file that we're working with, and then we have our background. I want to show you how you can do a markup that you can give to a client. So to create the markup, you go to File, we want to create a new layer, and this time we want to keep our width at 1280, and our height, we want to take it down to 720, and notice that we are working with pixels. We're going to hit Create. So now that we have this, we want to add a background to begin with. So, or you can choose to have a white background, but I think that we need a little bit of a contrast. So we are going to make sure we unlock our background, pick your paint bucket. I'm using a grayish color. I'm going to paint that in like a grayish blue. And we want to go to our working file, and we are going to select all the different designs that we've just done. I'm going to click on all 3, and I'm just going to drag them in here like that. I'm going to double click to deselect, double click, so all 3 comes in. So I'm going to click on all 3. With my move tool, I want to rescale all of them at the same time, just like that. I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to scale it down a little bit more, like that. And I'm going to set it right there. I'm going to deselect. And I am going to move my CD in just a little, like this. And I'm going to click on all 3 layers. I'm going to move it to center it, just like that. I'm going to deselect. Ooh, I love this. This is so breathtaking. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, so enough with all of that. Okay, I'm back to earth. So now I think that we can add something a little bit more to finish off this. So you want to add a little bit of a shadow effect to make your CD act as though it's almost like standing. So to do that, we are going to try a few things, a new layer, and we want to bring that layer beneath all our layers except the background. And we want to add a gradient. So we want to make sure our foreground and background are black and white. We are going to go to our paint bucket. We want to choose gradient. And notice that the gradient I have is from solid to transparent, and that's what you want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my lasso tool, and I'm just going to draw a line beneath my CDs. And I'm going to do something like that, and I'm going to close it off. And then I'm going to pick my gradient tool, and I'm going to do something like this. So I have this effect that is going on. I'm going to deselect, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out, and this is what we have. So we are going to erase or play around to see how we can create this nice effect. So I'm going to take down my eraser tool, and I'm just going to do something like this. So we almost have like a shadow effect that is going on, just like that. So you can save this file and then show it to your client so they can see the front, the back, and the CD case of how it will look like. Yes, and you can also send them the individual file so they can actually see what it looks like. But this is how you create a markup so your client can have a visual of the entire CD designs. So I would like to see your version of the CD cover. Yes, I'm so excited and I just can't wait to see what you are able to do. You can send me your design on Instagram or Facebook. All the links are in the description below, so you can just click and it will take you there. I hope you found this tutorial very fun and interesting. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for all future uploads. And as always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Be safe. Bye for now.